So Jimmy Dore actually went at it with his buddy Graham Elwood. Now, you may remember this guy. I did a video on him a couple years ago where he was going on a very angry rant against his viewers for, something to do with like World War III, and he was talking about like, do you think this is funny? And I think it had to do with, I don't remember if it was Iraq or what was going on with Soleimani or what. But he was going off and saying, he's threatening to knock people out, saying, hey, have you ever been knocked out by a vegetarian before? It was absolutely hilarious. He's also the guy who said, what did he say? What about Yemen in response to something completely random? Whataboutism. But, he's one of Jimmy Dore's best buddies. I guess they've known each other for 30 years, which is, for some people, it's literally a lifetime. So that's a long time. But I would certainly classify Graham Elwood simply as being one of the people who are, the underlings of Jimmy Dore. Jimmy Dore has built such a cult following where he has entire channels that are just completely dedicated to nut hugging Jimmy Dore. And so just, hugging him to the point of just choking him, essentially, cutting off circulation. So I would say Graham Elwood is one of these people. I don't think Graham Elwood has an audience without Jimmy Dore. And that's no shot at Graham Elwood necessarily. There's a lot of people who kind of need that. I mean, obviously, would I have like a super big audience without like, a secular talk or something like that? Probably not. But that's what he is, and there are entire channels, entire umbrellas that exist where there are channels that are just completely in lockstep with Jimmy Dore, just making videos about Jimmy Dore and just never disagreeing with him. And so, this is a warning for those channels. This video is going to set as a warning because this is what happens, right? If you have any sort of even slight self-esteem or self-worth, eventually you're going to disagree with Jimmy Dore on something. Now, in this one, it's a debate about vax mandates. Now, it appears that Graham Elwood actually supports like a hard vax mandate. Like, oh, I guess the government would literally be able to vaccinate you against your will, like shoot the injection into you against your will. I'm not in favor of that. I'm in favor of soft mandates, employer mandates, etc. I'm also in favor of potentially maybe fines, but I'm not necessarily there yet. But I think just given the status currently, I don't think that it's dire enough for literal vax mandates. So I don't disagree. I don't agree with him on that. But I think this is not. I don't think this is. I think it's more of a proxy for pro-vax versus anti-vax debate. And I think that it's more Graham is pro-vax and then Jimmy Dore is anti-vax. And I think that's just a fake proxy that's set up. But really, it's a war between pro-vax and anti-vax. Jimmy Dore being one of the grifters who is vaccinated but is anti-vax, reporting nocebo side effects that I don't even believe. Either they don't exist or he's just misattributing to them. I mean, he's obviously in horrible condition. He has a horrible bone disease. He just, washes down alcohol and drugs. So he obviously isn't going to be in good condition. And so was he already having these headaches and stuff he was purporting to now? Before? Probably was. And so, there's no evidence that this kind of thing is being attributed to COVID. There's no COVID injuries. I'd never heard of that term until today. But there's no evidence of that. The myocarditis numbers that Jimmy Dore is posting are just preliminary data that were not actually legit. And it was just, the moves done by Nordic countries were very preliminary and precautionary. But they weren't even published studies, let alone peer-reviewed. So, Jimmy Dore going against Graham Elwood. So immediately, I did a reaction to this. I don't know if the video of my reaction to this will be up on the channel by the time you see this or not. It may or may not. I'm not sure. But, right after watching this, I essentially thought, my first thought was like, oh, dude, Graham Elwood lost a bunch of subscribers. Like, he must have got a bunch of backlash from this because Jimmy Dore is the god of this fake, like, weird cult where Jimmy Dore is the only leftist. And, Graham Elwood picked up on this in the debate. He talks about in the debate how, he finds it offensive that he's saying that anybody who's, like, pro-lockdown or whatever is not part of the left. So, I caught on to this Jimmy Dore grift a long time ago where his grift is, I'm out-lefting everybody. I'm the only lefty. I'm the only real lefty. It's obviously extreme narcissism and extreme, insecurity and being a major loser. And so he has to try to inflate his ego by trying to put this god complex of him being the only true lefty. And so that's his whole business model, right? So he's caught on to it at this point. So immediately when I thought that, I decided, okay, well, how can I check this? So first thing I do is I go to his social blade. And guess what? Up here you can see, everything's going typical. Channels lose a small amount of subscribers. It happens. He lost 100 subscribers. But what's actually really interesting is as you go down and you get more recent, whoa, there's a big spike in unsubs. That's pretty interesting, right? So in just 1 week, he's lost 600 subscribers in this past week. Obviously coinciding with this debate that he's done with Jimmy Dore. So he's lost 600 subscribers. He's probably going to continue to lose more because he lost 100 just in the past day. So for all I know, by tomorrow and the next day, maybe he's losing more and more subscribers. And so what I want people to know who are Jimmy Dore nut huggers, I just want you to know that's not your audience. That's Jimmy Dore's audience that you're leeching off of. But it's not like they're going to be okay with even the slightest of nuance or the slightest of critique or criticism of Jimmy Dore. They will dump you as soon as you say anything even slightly against Jimmy Dore. This is what you're going to get. And typically, these are going to be your most active subscribers. So how many patrons, if he's on Patreon, I don't know if he's on Patreon, how many patrons did he lose? I think he's on like Rockfin and areas like that. How many of those people did he lose? But these people will go after you. And again, oftentimes those people will be your patrons. And so they'll come after you by saying, I'm going to stop funding your show and take away from your livelihood because you dared criticize Jimmy Dore. And so this is the kind of backlash you get for just being honest. And so I have to give a lot of credit to Graham Elwood because it takes a lot of courage and self-respect to at least do this. Like you have to have, in order to do this, you have to have a certain amount of self-respect because there's obviously people out there who have no self-esteem, no self-worth, no self-respect. And so they're content with just being Jimmy Dore's lapdog and just leeching off of his channel. And even when they disagree with him, not vocalizing it because it's going to piss off their audience. So this shows that at least he has somewhat self-respect. He's not somebody who's just going to just completely, just be all up in Jimmy Dore's, whatever he's doing and just agree with him in lockstep. But, there's even more comments and stuff that I saw on this video that he posted with Lee Camp. Jimmy Dore used to be on that Rockfin list. It's not a government secret why he's not now. Yikes, Graham. I'd like to see the list of your subs that didn't find you from a Jimmy connection. Otherwise, a great show, always amazingly. So this is true. I think Graham Elwood's audience is largely based on Jimmy Dore's audience. And so this is simply dangerous because then once you do even the slightest critique of Jimmy Dore, the slightest, they're gonna dip. They're gonna get out of there. They're gonna run away, right? And so, you can just see a bunch of these. Is Graham going to call out Big Pharma? Graham gullible on Obama's housing relief is understandable. Gullible on Big Pharma tyranny, not so much. Unsubscribed, bye. Not only is Max smarter than Graham, he is also funnier. Unsubscribed, peace out. Hey man, maybe you guys can do an episode of how shaming people with vaccine side effects serves the interest of the pharmaceutical industry? No. Yeah, that's totally not sus. So now they're trying to imply that it's like, I don't know, is there some kind of ulterior motive? Is Graham Elwood getting money from Pfizer? And it's like, wow. So they're genuinely trying to convince people that these fake vaccine injuries that these losers are trying to lie about exist, but they're not. They're just complete hype and lies and debunked scientific studies that were never even published in the first place. I stopped watch Graham years. Why do none of these have good grammar? What the fuck? I stopped watch Graham years ago, but after the Dore interview / debate, I am out. Lee is a disappointment as well. So it's like anybody that just has basic common sense, any self-respect, you're going to get this backlash. This is what's going to happen. Graham, what happened to you? How could you come down on the side of big pharma mandates? I found Whitney Webb through you. I thought you had some healthy skepticism of the establishment. The establishment cares about our health and safety. Why are they firing doctors, nurses, and firefighters who worked over a year with no jab? Please call Whitney and have a heart-to-heart. I smell support for government mandates from this show. Nope, not much a fan anymore. Prepare more too. Thanks for the efforts though. Civil liberties first and foremost. There's a bunch of these. This one's saying 76k subs and only 1,500 views. His views are obviously atrocious when you look at the views on his channel. But you're not going to see that comment without the Jimmy Dore beef. The reason why that person is commenting that is because he got into the beef with Jimmy Dore, and so they're now using it against him. Otherwise, you're not going to see that comment. But, this is a warning to all those, who are the Jimmy Dore nut huggers, of which there are a lot. Unfortunately, it seems like a lot of people blatantly stole my channel and the thumbnails and the titles of the videos and everything. And that would be fine, I guess, if people were at least rational. But it seems like all the channels that have stolen, just completely hijacked my channel in its entirety, by the way, are all, unfortunately, not rational. They're not, people with genuinely their own thoughts. They just parrot whatever Jimmy Dore says because that's what their patrons want them to say. And if they say anything that in any way deviates from Daddy Jimmy Dore, they're going to lose subs, they're going to lose patrons, they're going to lose views, people are going to shit on them, and you're going to, your livelihood will be threatened. So I'm just letting you know, this isn't your audience. That's Jimmy Dore's audience. So eventually, it's going to come back to bite you. Eventually, that's what's going to end up happening. So it's happened to Graham Elwood. Shout out to Graham. I don't agree with him on vax mandates, though, but I don't believe it was a real debate about vax mandates. I think it was a debate about pro-vax versus anti-vax. That was just a proxy. But shout out to Graham Elwood, having some actual self-dignity, self-respect, self-worth. And, that's someone you can trust because at least what they're saying is at least what they think, right? A lot of these people are thinking something else, but they can't say it because they have to self-censor to save their money and their subscribers, because otherwise and he's going to keep losing subs as the days go on. So who knows what his subs will be at by the time you watch this video. I don't even know when I'm uploading this video. So given all of that, you just simply have to understand that this is going to happen to you, right? This is what's going to happen.